Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Some of you may still remember what we talked about last week. We talked about the purge of 4 top Chinese scientists, also top leaders in China's military industries. There were Mr. Wu, Mr. Zhao, Mr. Wei, and Mr. Yang. And you may still remember that at the end of the episode, I said something. Actually, I made an observation or a prediction. I said this will not be the end of it. There must be more to come, and that's what I said to conclude last week's program. And little did I know that my expectation comes true so soon, less than 1 week. Actually, on April the 3rd, the New China News Agency made an announcement saying that, quote unquote, the Politburo member and the deputy director or the vice group leader of the Chinese Party's Central Rural Work Leading Group, Ma Xingrui, has seriously violated party disciplines and state laws. It's now under investigation. I suppose that not many of you know that who this Ma Xingrui is. He's a gentleman, and 66 years of age, and he's from Shandong province, one of the eastern provinces of China. Born in 1960, and he began as a scientist, actually as a top scientist. In the year 2007, he was promoted to the position of the party leader of the Party Commissar of China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation. And also he served as the CEO of that group at the age of 47. Imagine that. So he's got a nickname. Actually, he was praised by the official news media as the young marshal of China's aerospace science. How about that? That's very impressive, right? And that's what happened in 2007. 5 years later, when Xi Jinping promoted to the top position, and the second year in the year of 2013, Mr. Ma left the military industries and became the Deputy Minister of Industry and Information Department. And 8 months later, less than 1 year, Ma Xingrui was again promoted to the position of the Deputy Secretary of Guangdong Province, one of the southern provinces. So that officially signifies that he has changed his track. He left the military industry track and officially cut into the political track for promotion. That means his political talent has been deliberately handpicked and promoted to that position. In Communist Chinese jargon, that means he's a political star who's been intentionally cultivated to that position. 4 years later, in the year of 2017, he became the governor of Guangdong Province, working with Mr. Li Xi, then the Guangdong Party secretary, the first secretary of Guangdong Province. By the way, Li Xi is currently the head of the personnel department of the Chinese Communist Party, one of the members of the standing committee of Politburo. So he's one of the top 7 guys. And 4 years later, Ma Xingrui was again promoted to head Xinjiang. He became the party secretary of Xinjiang province, or what they call the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. So he's one of the top leaders in China. Unfortunately, 4 years later, in July 2025, last year, he was deprived of the position of the head of Xinjiang province or Xinjiang Autonomous Region, and became the deputy director of what we call the Central Rural Work Leading Group. So that was a demotion, and that's a serious setback in his political career. So the brief introduction of Ma Xingrui's background tells us something, that he has a very solid background in science and engineering, and he's been promoted to the political track and was under careful promotion and cultivation, using their jargon. So the question is, why the purge? Why the downfall? If he's such a rising star in the political track, what kind of political trouble he might have been getting into? So there are several possibilities. The first one is, of course, his technological background or his engineering background. As we can tell that he had been heavily involved in the military industry sector, and he's been associated with the top leaders or top echelons of industry, of science and technology. Just like what we mentioned last week, the 4 gentlemen being purged very recently. Mr. Wu, the vice president of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, and also a radar expert. And secondly, Mr. Zhao, a Chinese nuclear physicist, a top leader or a top expert in the development of Chinese nuclear weapons, and Mr. Wei, a top leader in China's missile systems, and also Mr. Yang, a top leader in the design and the development of China's jet fighters. These are the top experts in various groups. So Ma Xingrui is just like one of them. The only difference is Ma Xingrui has left the military industry track and turned into or cut into the political track much earlier, and that's the only difference. And that might have something to do with. That's our first guess. The second guess is his background in the Guangdong province. As we mentioned, he worked in Guangdong for several years. He began his career in Guangdong as the deputy governor of the province, and then became the governor of the province. And he was working with Mr. Li Xi, then the party secretary of Guangdong province, and now currently the head of the personnel department of Chinese Communist Party. Like I said, one of the top 7 people in China, in Communist China. And so if Ma Xingrui got into trouble in Guangdong in his working experience in Guangdong, that also means that he might be associated with Li Xi in some way, I mean in terms of corruption. So an investigation into Ma Xingrui's corruption in Guangdong, and that may lead to Li Xi. So if Li Xi is doing an investigation upon Ma Xingrui, that means he's also investigating himself. But the question is, if Xi Jinping is asking somebody else to investigate Ma Xingrui, that also means that somebody is investigating Li Xi at the same time. So that means that the downfall of the purge of Ma Xingrui is not just a purge of one person. It may lead to other Politburo member or even member of the standing committee of the Politburo. And that's a much, much serious problem than what we can imagine now. But that's not all. There's a third possibility. And the third possibility has much to do with not Ma Xingrui himself, but his wife, Rong Li. His wife, Rong Li, that Mr. Ma's wife, had been doing something very, very unusual in China's political circle. It is said that she's been buying what we call the insurance certificates of foreign companies from Hong Kong or from other countries, and presented them as gifts to the spouses or children of top political leaders in China. And that's really something unusual. There are two things about this. This is what we call unusual thing. The first one is the way to bribe other people. Not only the amount is so large and so alarming, but the number of recipients are so many. So that means they have a lot of money to do this kind of bribery thing. So that's the first reason that they're so suspicious. And the second thing is not just the bribery itself, is the intention for this kind of bribery. So it's not just a bribery. It's like knitting a political network or building a web, a political web. Although on the surface she's trying to make a political connection for her husband and try to get some promotion and get some protection or something. But actually, in the eyes of Xi Jinping or in the eyes of the top leaders, they will look at the issue from a different angle. It's not just a bribery, as they see it. It's like building a coalition under my eyes, but without my knowledge. So that's something that really raised the suspicion of the top leader or of the top leaders. I remember several weeks ago, we were talking about the purge of another 2 Politburo members, General He Weidong and General Zhang Youxia. And Ma Xingrui makes the third member that's been purged from the Politburo. And this is really unusual because Politburo is supposedly the top leading organ, one of the 2 top leading organs of the party, and is supposed to be the most trustworthy and most powerful people in the party and also in China. And all these people, let me remind you, were handpicked by Xi Jinping 4 years ago. Xi Jinping carefully studied the background and their connections and their expertise in this and that, and decided to promote them into this organ, the Politburo, and most reliable, trustworthy political partners in the system. But now 3 of the 24 are either corrupt or disloyal to himself. So that's really an alarm to Xi Jinping himself. So if we review the history of Chinese political struggles for the past, this is by far probably the biggest or most serious political challenge in Chinese politics up to this point. And they're going to hold the 21st Party Congress next year. So it is likely, if following this trend, it is likely that there will be more purges to come. And more people will fall from the Politburo. We can expect to see more political turbulence in Chinese politics. And well, anyway, let's keep our eyes open and see what will happen in the weeks or months. That's all I want to share with you today. I hope you liked today's program. And please share it with your friends. And do subscribe and click the icon. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time.